Welcome to OC Life episode 4, where we turn your life into a message. If you missed last week and other episodes, please like and subscribe this video and become a subscriber. Well, I'll tell you right now, we have a host of great things coming up. We got my co-host here, Jarvis Elder, fresh off of victory. I'm just fresh coming from a wedding. I told him I didn't feel like changing. So we're going to get into OC Life podcast, and we're going to be talking about mental health, how it affects today's athletes, how it affects today's society. And this is going to be a subject that a lot of people are struggling with, especially with the pandemic. So please stay tuned, like and subscribe. This is OC Life Podcast, again, episode 4, coming right at you. All right, welcome. Well, guess what? We're back with co-host Jarvis Elder, fresh off of victory. How do you feel?
I feel great. You know, we got our first victory. It was a big step for us. We're going in the bye week now, so hopefully we can build some momentum and start winning some games.
Good. Well, you played the Yellow Jackets, correct?
Yes.
And the Yellow Jackets were, they're from Austin?
Yes, sir.
All right, and pretty much how did last week's episode of OC Life talking about, of course, you guys, we kind of got into my life, children, things of that nature. But then also, too, I talked to you about God was putting you on notice that he really wanted you to kind of take the reins of this team. Did you think about any of that? I mean, what was the catalyst? How was your attitude this game versus the games before?
I took everything you said in perspective and just, talk to God about it and, use me as you want, Lord. And then I just went out there and did what I had to do, man. Just try to step up, be a leader, and lead by example.
So you talk about leadership, and this episode 4 of OC Life, we're talking about mental health, and we're talking about how it affects athletes, and as well as how it affected the world with the pandemic and things like that going on. Before we get into that part, I want to tell you congratulations on your first victory. They always say if they put 11 men on the field, they think they can beat you. So it doesn't matter what the caliber team was. I think you guys won like 60-something to nothing.
57-0.
Right. Well, just to kind of backtrack, the Austin Vipers fell short to the Capital City Bisons 12 to nothing. That's your former team. They got some things that they got to fix, but I'll tell you what, I think those guys will be back. They got the Leander Woodpack coming up. Now, who is your guys' next? You guys obviously got the bye week. Happy Easter to everybody from OC Life.
Happy Easter.
Early, but what's Coach Clark's what's his message to you guys? Although a weaker opponent, going on a bye week, what's his message to you guys?
He said, we can win out 7-3. He said our goal is to go 7-3. Of course, everybody's goal is to go undefeated and win out, but our goal is just try to win one game at a time and try to go 7-3. So we're just gonna try to win out.
So I know we talked on the phone before, but you said you guys are getting ready to after this Easter weekend. You got any plans?
Yeah, just hang out with family, and just enjoy the moment. Have Easter egg hunt with the kids and let them go out there and catch the eggs and stuff and just have a good old time.
Well, so after Easter, you guys are heading up to San Antonio to face the San Antonio Ravens.
Yes, sir.
And you guys will be at if you haven't been to the Wheatley Complex Center, I think I'm saying that right, the Wheatley Complex, that's probably like maybe 10, 15 minutes from the Spurs Stadium. That is an awesome stadium. I think they've done a great job upkeeping that place. It gets hot on that field. I don't know what it is about San Antonio, but it gets hot. And so you guys make sure you stay hydrated. And so you guys are going to take that ride up to San Antonio. The goal is to go 7-3. You said it went out. So I think you're prophesying a victory here. So what's different about the Ravens this year versus last year?
I think they're having the same issues. They're in and out with new players, so they're having a couple setbacks. I think their record is 1-3 too. So it's like I think they're rebuilding at the same time as we are too.
Great. So after you guys play the Ravens, who's next?
The Wolfpack.
The mighty Wolfpack, right? So, that's I'll tell you, that is, I know you guys are going to go, 1-0 every week. That's the plan, but sometimes it's hard not to look ahead to the big bad wolf.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the David and Goliath kind of mentality. And Coach Donovan and Mark Rogers, they really got it going up in Leander. But I know you're going to have to keep your guys focused this week next couple of weeks, because they're going to really try to look ahead. And I think a great championship team doesn't look ahead.
Yes.
You know, look at Alabama. Alabama plays
every week,
opponent every week, leading up to whatever. And so getting into that, then you guys there's no more bye weeks. It's just straight football.
Straight football.
All the way through for the next 5 weeks, 7 weeks. So we talked earlier this week, and we always send text messages out kind of coming up with the topics for the week within OC Life. And I told you I wanted to discuss mental health. Mental health, basically, pandemic. You know, a lot of us were shut in the home. People were excessively overeating, drinking, divorces. I mean, you would think that with the pandemic that people would be happy. At first, I think everybody was happy. They were like, oh, I'm home and I got to work and this, that, whatever. But then mental health started coming in. And I know you and I, we watch First Take when we can. And Stephen A. was talking about mental health. And a lot of stars, a lot of people are starting to talk about mental health. And I have my own issues. And so talk to the audience about the mental health and about being an athlete and how the pandemic kind of affected you, your family. Just share your experiences a little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was reading today on mental health, you know, as far as sports and the percentage, and I think it was like 38% for sports, you know, athletes as. And I think as athletes, it's a tough battle, you know, as in semi-pro for us, you know, it's like, you know, we don't get paid. So it's like, you're just out there playing.
Right.
For some guys, it's frustration, you know, just leave their family alone or work, or some guys don't have jobs, or, you know, dealing with the streets and stuff like that. So it's like, I think it's a mental health is really big. It's like, you know, you're dealing with a lot of stuff, man. You're dealing with so many things.
So let's talk about the pandemic. And let's talk about the pandemic started, 2020?
Yes, sir.
So in 2020, the world got hit with the coronavirus and the pandemic, right?
Mid-season.
Mm-hmm. And so when you guys were in that season, like, what was your effect from it in terms of the pandemic? What was your effect from going to a season where you guys were kind of getting some momentum, and the next thing you know, they say, hey, season's over, shut it down?
To be honest with you, we sucked. So it was good for us. I don't think we won a game out of that season.
Wow.
I don't think we was winning any games, so it was kind of good for us. We needed that because, man, it was a lot of things going on internal on the team that, you know, we had to fix. And, of course, that didn't get fixed because, you know, next season you came and we still had the same issues. So it was like, you know. So
would you say the pandemic, and let's talk worldwide, and let's talk about personal experiences too. For you all that are just now coming on, this is OC Life. This is podcast 4. We're talking about mental health. We're talking about how mental health affects athletes and people. I'll share an experience that I had. So mental health comes in all different types of forms, right? And I see counselors right now to this day for some of the things that I've went through in my life and my military career. And a lot of it is not pretty. Things that I experienced in my life, things that have affected me, you know, being shot, you know, all the things, you know, as a soldier that you think at some point you're protected, but then other people. We are in a world where we're trying to, I trust you and I'm walking past you. As a matter of fact, if you want to go back, look at in Brooklyn, where the guy was on a train, and it's like hell on earth now. So when you first got the call that, hey, season's over, pandemic, let the viewers know, translate that to your personal life, because You seem like a very stout guy. You got everything together. If you know, you don't have to get into too much detail, but just enough where we can kind of understand Jarvis Elder from a perspective of how did the pandemic affect you and your family?
You know, of course, you know, looking on the outside in, you know, you panic. You're like, you're looking at what the world is seeing, you know, during the whole pandemic. It's like, man, what's next? Are we going to lose our jobs, or, you know, are we going to be out with no money or anything like that? But unfortunately for us, you know, we still had our jobs, and I was still able to work. So it kind of helped us out. I mean, of course, they cut the hours and all, but we were still able to make some money. So I was fortunate to still be working, and my wife was fortunate to still be working. So it was pretty good. We just maintained and just, you know, trust God and continue to believe in Him.
So talk about, you said you were still able to work. A lot of America wasn't able to work. You know, at that time I was in my last, you know, few months of getting ready to retire and out of the Army. And my wife and I were freaking out. Tanya and I, we were freaking out. We did not want COVID-19. And I know a lot of the world didn't, but it was like we were just on edge. We were, you know, doing certain things. We were, you know, out doing certain things. And the next thing you know, it's like, boom, here this comes. And it's like, are we breathing this stuff in, or what's going on? We hurried up and got our, you know, our vaccines and stuff like that, because of course in the military, which it is right now, I mean, unless it's not for a religious reason, a lot of people are soldiers and people are getting vaccinated or have to get vaccinated. However, I believe your vaccination is a choice, but that dealing with mental health, that was a very, very big thing for me, because it was like, you know, we had our grandbaby, and it's like, okay, school, you're used to sending your kids off to school. So now you're talking about, we actually had to make school here. And that can be very, very frustrating. It was very financially straining. And I'll say, even for a middle working class, upper class, it's a lot when your kids are at home every day and you're having to go through that. So, although you don't have kids, you have brothers and sisters, and you have nieces and nephews. Did you see them go through any changes mentally when it comes to the pandemic, when it comes to maybe their grades were, you know, not up to par, or maybe they decreased in an area where you could say, okay, hey, you know, this thing is real. We really got to get our heads wrapped around this.
I would say in some instances, because you know, some kids, they're happy to don't have to go to school. You know, some kids are happy to be at home, and I feel like some parents, you know, it's kind of hard for them. You know, people that do have to go to work. You know, so fathers or the mothers that do have to work, and even the single parents. You know, it's kind of hard for them too. They, you know, they got to cut work to be with the kids because they don't have nobody to look up to, or have a family member they can, you know, take them over there and teach them the great, you know, teach them the stuff they have to take care of in school. So it's kind of, I think it's really big, but they adapted pretty well.
Yeah, you know, and we're going to step into the some of the things that we read about professional athletes like LeBron James. I think the world of him. You know, when the Lakers, we're both Laker fans, by the way. Although we're not in the playoffs this year, I think it's a good thing, because we get a chance to kind of, you know, the Lakers and the Cowboys and the Yankees are some of the most hated teams. It's only because they're that good. Exactly. They got great fan bases, but even though we're not professional athletes, we are unfortunately, we didn't get paid to do the job that we love to do. How do you think it is? I mean, you're an athlete though. How do you think it is as an athlete to get paid, and then you're used to your arena, your regimen, your gym, you're working out, your treadmill. Now the NBA says, hey, we're moving to Orlando, Florida. And then you got the WNBA, they moved to another part of Florida, you know, and then you have football, the NFL, and college, they went to minimal fans. How does that affect you mentally as an athlete, where you have taken a regimen that you've done for multiple years and you've had to change that?
I think it's, I would say the word comfortability. You know what I'm saying? For most people, it's like we're so comfortable doing the things that we're always accustomed to do, and then we had to adapt to the whole situation. So it was like, man, so it's kind of frustrating for a lot of athletes and just people in general, because they had to adapt. Like, I can't do the things that I used to do. I can't practice how I used to practice, or do the things like go get my health done, or massages. They couldn't do all that no more. They had to change how they had to approach.
So talk about even like normal hygienic practices.
Yeah.
Like, this is something that it wears on you.
Yeah.
And that's why I told you I wanted to talk about mental health, because the pandemic, really, really, really extracted a lot of people's thoughts of marriages.
Yes.
Drinking went up. I'm not sure the exact percentages, and I don't want to quote anything, but I know that there was a big raise of divorces. There's a lot of breakups, a lot of babies being made. The economy, in terms of, people think mental health is just war. Mental health is life. Like, look at the gas prices. I mean, I'm afraid to go to the gas pump. My wife and I, literally, we take one vehicle and we're negotiating. Tanya's like, what vehicle we drive? I'm like, hey, whatever one takes the least gas. Look at where we are today. How can this not wear on today's society? And for you all that have not been impacted by mental health reasons and the pandemic and all this, look, please reach out to us, because we would love to hear from you. Because I'll be honest with you, I haven't known anybody that has not been affected. Rich, poor, middle class, upper class, doesn't matter. And when you look at today's society, you look at our kids, could you imagine being a provider, an internet provider, on how much, what is it, the usage, the speed? What do you think has to happen for us to get back to a better America and living normal? Because we're trying our best, but I tell you, mentally, I went to the barbershop today. I didn't have my mask on, right? And although I'm fully vaccinated, I still thought I was missing something. So how do you feel about, and what's your take on, do you think that we can get back to normalcy? And when do you think we'll get back there? What some ideas do you may have?
I think overall, it's really, it's mental and it's draining.
Mm-hmm.
It's draining. Since 2020, it's been kind of like draining for everybody.
Yeah.
For everybody personally, because, do I, get the vaccination? Do I wear a mask? Do I not wear a mask? And they say we got COVID, we don't have COVID. So it's like a mixed emotions. Everybody's like in a mixed emotional state right now, because like the government tell us one thing and then they'll say, we're good, and then we're not good. We got to go back. So it's kind of. I think it starts from the top. I think it starts from the government, the president. They have to come together. But I don't think we'll ever be normal again. I think it's always going to be something.
So mentally, how does that impact Jarvis Elder? And your wife. How does that impact you guys, knowing that, one day you're gonna have bring a child on this earth, and the world was completely different than what it once was? How have you guys had discussions at home on what you're gonna do going forward, knowing that mentally this world has, like, COVID screwed us up?
Yeah. I think the challenge for me is just, it's just trusting God. And once I bring my child in the world, I'm trying to teach him the best way possible, about the world and how, to adapt to the world. Because, and handle that adversity, because there's going to be a lot of adversity when adversity out there. So it's about adapting to that.
So, my thought is that with Tanya and I is that, and like I told you before, we were just sucking down vitamin C, all different products. We were taking NyQuil daily, Dayquil, You know, at the time I was going on post, I was going to work. Things changed. We couldn't do physical training anymore. You know, at that time, we were all separated, segregated. When we found out somebody had COVID, it was like, it was no longer the same army. It's like what I did those 22 years before didn't compare to my last year in the army. And it bothered me because when we went on a cruise back in 2018, 19, we were 1 month away from being locked down on that shit. If we would have went any time later than when we went in December. And my thing is that I am affected by it because if you have a function at your home, if you have something going on, if you're not vaccinated, it's like a stigma's against you. Mentally, you're like, before it was like, oh, let's have a party, let's have all this many people come over. Now it's like, CYA, do I got a mask? Do I have this? Do I have hand sanitizer? All that. Could you imagine what we went through a couple years ago where we couldn't even get water? We had a limit on water.
Yeah, that and tissue. Remember tissue
Yeah,
too?
yeah, and for all you all out there, you know, I don't know how we get comments on this, but you know, it's something when you can't even get toiletries. You can't even get water. Things that years ago was just piling up, and even in the military, we was taking water, pouring it out. You know, just small stuff that was being done. And now you're taking something as scarce as water, and now you're telling the whole world. We went in Walmart and Sam's Club, just shelves were empty. What we're trying to say is these are things that mentally affect you. So mental health isn't just combat-wise. Mental health is your overall stability of how you live your normal life. And although I was an athlete, I consider myself a far better coach than an athlete. So when I'm asking these questions from an athlete's perspective, I don't know what it's like to go to cryotherapy and have to put a mask on, or to go get stretched or soaked, and they're telling you, hey man, you can't lift in this gym, you gotta go over here to this gym.
Or wear masks, you gotta clean
Yeah.
every equipment that you've been on and stuff like that.
Right, but then also too, what happens when you get tackled and you tackle that guy and, you know, saliva or something flies in?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, this is forever gonna be
Forever.
in our mind. And so my Tanya had a great perspective on it. She said that the world is never gonna be the same. And it's not gonna be the same because everybody does not practice clean hygienic practices.
The world's lazy.
And laziness, right? And I think America, we got exposed. I think we got exposed because we weren't ready. I read something, or I seen something on YouTube or Facebook where it said Barack Obama predicted that something like this would happen. And although we had President Trump, and he was, you know, the president at the time, I'm not a politician, I don't get into it. But I think America forgot about one thing, and you mentioned God. And in the Bible, it talks about the wrath is coming. And I think that this is our wrath. So going forward, you know, what challenges did you have, you know, as a husband and working, you know, at that time you worked at an oil field. And then, you know, as an athlete, what challenges did you personally face, you know, mentally?
Me, just sacrificing, man. It's a lot, it's a lot of sacrificing and just, you know what I'm saying, making sure that I'm in control and only control what I can control. You know what I'm saying? Just understanding and help my wife, even though she panics about, you know, the whole looking at the news and stuff. Me, I just try to just trust God and be like, you know, whatever happens, God, it happens, you know. That's why I sent a quote to everybody today. It said, life is precious, man. You can't take life for granted, man. You can't take life for granted. You gotta take it
Yeah.
every day. Every step of the day, you gotta wake up and be thankful.
Yeah, you did, and I Tanya and I really appreciate that message, and she read it to me when we were getting ready to go to that the wedding or whatever. But I have a hard time being around people. I do. I struggle with that every day, and it's only people that I trust, and it's not that many. And I tell you, I faced a lot of different variations of going to the grocery store is hard for me. Something that I just despise doing. So I'm in a grocery store one day and I had to go, and I'm getting in the HEB, and I kind of got in there a little bit late. And it was just a mass of people. And it was like everybody was running after water and cereal and everything that you would just walk past on a normal. I got my cart, I stopped, I pushed the cart, and I had a breakdown because I left there with nothing because I couldn't be around people. And I think with the pandemic, it makes me think about, is this person clean, like you said? Are they practicing good practices? If I go to their home, if I sit on their furniture, do they sanitize it? All these things. And then you have so many people think that mental health is just military. Look at how we are struggling financially.
Every job's hiring.
They said 8.7% increase from, 30% increase of last year. Food, gas. You go into the grocery store and you get 4 or 5 items and you're paying almost $20. Formulas are getting rejected. So my stance on it is this. Jarvis and I are just here doing a podcast, right? And we're trying to help affect lives. But if you listen to what he said, it was one common denominator that we all forgot about, and that was God. Tell me, in your view, how you think, because you said your dad's a pastor.
Yeah.
How did he deal with being in a church where he had normal congregation to now having to shut things down and doing things virtual?
I think he handled it. I mean, it was a big difference because he does all the audio and the video, so I think it was kind of probably like a challenge in the beginning, and then they had to kind of adapt and figure out how they was going to record the pastor, the video, all that stuff, and I think they handled it pretty well.
So, do you think there's a difference between live streaming church, where you have the comfort of your own home, and actually being in the setting of the house of God, the house of prayer, whether you're a Catholic, Methodist, Christian, doesn't matter what your background is? You think there's a difference?
To me personally, I don't think there's a difference because God is everywhere. You have church at your home, you have church at congregation. I mean, of course they got drums and you're around the people, but you can feel the spirit at home too.
But mentally, because we're talking about mental health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be challenging for some people. They probably want to leave the house. They probably
exactly.
They probably want to get out and congregate with people.
So would you say that in today's society we struggle now with communicating with people based off of all the stuff that's been going on?
Oh yes, I think so.
So why do you feel that there is a struggle? Like where can we now in America, in Texas, we're in Central Texas, right? Where can we make our place of residence better? Why is there not free centers open to help people go through mental struggles? Not that they're military, just in general. There's nothing around here that I've seen. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's nothing around here that says, hey, here is this location. It's free, it's open to the public. And we ain't gonna charge you for, giving advice, psychiatrists. We're gonna do this weekly, monthly, because we feel that we're going to be a better Texas, we're going to be a better America if we done it. Where do you feel like our community can take the next step as far as getting us back to some type of normalcy based off of everything that we have gone through with the pandemic and mentally knowing that our world will never be the same?
Well, I mean, I think the number one thing is, the world is based off money. You got to think about it. That's why a lot of, like you said, communication is hard, because the world is like families. That's why you said we have divorces, we have all this stuff, because it's all about the money. Number one thing in the world is work. We all work. We think about work.
Yeah.
When it comes to family, when you come to visit your family, you only visit them on holidays. You don't see them every day. You don't speak to them every day. You don't speak to people every day because you're worried about work. You're worried about working at 9 to 5. Yeah. You're too busy worried about that. I got to provide for my family. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to take care of this and that.
Right.
So you don't take the time to actually like, hey, let me hit up my dad. Let me hit up my daughter. Let me hit up my son. Let me hit them up and see how they're doing. We'll take time out of our precious life to hit up a person with just words of encouragement. Or, hey man, you see somebody on the street, like, hey, here's $1, here's $5. Or, hey, I know gas prices are high. Here's $20. We don't take that because we're so selfish.
So why are we saying slogans like "Build a Better America" and "Let's Make America Great" and all these things that people come up with? But when you go on TV and you look at TV, it's mentally draining. It's mentally draining. It mentally messes with my mind because I can't sit there and hear negative over negative over negative over negative, right? Mm-hmm. But we got all these people, like you said, in high places that can help change this world. You go downtown Austin, and one of the saddest things I seen, a homeless woman, my wife and I, a homeless woman, was sleeping behind the police headquarters. And we keep talking about mental health, is an issue. Why can't we take more people in and make our America better by building our America better with taking care of the homeless? And we got Ukraine, we got all these people that are coming in, and that's fine, right? But what about making sure that we're all strong? Why is it that the people that make the change, that can make the influence, whether it's the Senate, the Congress, whomever, why does it seem like, okay, their lives are great, but over here it's like, now we got this other variant?
Because they're selfish. I got to get my piece of the pie. I got to take care of my people. And if most people, like you said, while some people ain't stepping up to make America great, it's because they don't be judged. A lot of people are worried about being judged. It's like, we don't have another Martin Luther King. We don't have another Malcolm X, a person that's going to step because they're afraid to, what's the consequences if I do that? What's the consequences if I step up?
Do you really believe that we have a lot of people that won't step up? And you don't have to name names, but the people that you feel that won't step up, I think if this is your true statement, I feel like this is the reason why we're struggling today with all these shootings, with people just getting all these guns, and just, it's terrifying to be outside. It's terrifying. It's terrifying to drive down a road and not knowing if that's going to be your last day, because somebody might do something to you because your vehicle might look like theirs. Somebody else that triggered it mentally, or they could just not want you in that vehicle and feel like they're entitled to it, so they're going to take it from you. And so, where do we go from here? You mentioned a key that people are selfish, but how do we get them to see that don't worry about being judged because God is our author and our maker. Why do you feel that selfishness is so big now with the pandemic and dealing in the world of mental health? Why do you think these people are selfish?
It's because of the state that we're in. Pretty much, we're more selfish now than we were back then. You know, now it's like I gotta survive, so I'm gonna do everything I possibly can to make sure I survive, my family survive. But if you look at it on the outside end, if you understand, if you say, I don't want to be selfish, but be selfless. Selfless and like, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna just do all I can to help as many people I can. Because
That's big, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because if I help this person, he might go help somebody else.
You know, when I was in the Army, my biggest attribute was selfless service. I put my needs last for somebody else. And Tanya and I have been in many cases, and even my mom would go to stores, and I've even seen you do it, where we've opened up our whole life and we've given cash, we bought groceries for people, we've helped people load stuff in their vehicles, and we've opened up our home to people just to give them a sense of pride. Now, I'm gonna challenge you on something that I thought about. You're the CEO and the founder of B&B Sweets, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that started off, like you mentioned before, with the vision for you wanting to create generational wealth, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is B&B Sweets gonna do about it? Like, what are you guys gonna offer to this community? Have you ever thought about what you guys can do for this community? And I know you guys got some great, got a great vision and all that, but and I know you're in the B&B, Airbnb business, and you have B&B Suites, but if you want to speak to the audience right now, what can B&B Suites do to help our community build a better Texas and build a better Central Texas mentally?
Mentally, I think, we just try to give back as much as possible. Like with the wine tasting, we had the wine tasting event, and we had people come and gather and be able to, shout their businesses or just, get the experience of something new. And I think for us, it's like I'm trying for B&B Suites. I want to try to, give back as much as I can as possible. I want to be able to, give a person a gift basket or something. Just try to touch other people's lives, man. Like,
have you guys thought about partnering up with a local food bank and just because starvation, hunger. You look at this real quick. You look at over in Ukraine, and you look over in I think it's China. They got people delivering them food, but this guy's like, oh, he said, I only got one lemon left. I only got a half a box of cereal left. Just what can you say that B&B Suites can offer? Like you said, you guys, will potentially want to give back, but have you guys thought about partnering up with, the city of Killeen or somewhere in this area to represent hats, shirts, whatever, B&B Suites? Have you guys thought about looking at maybe special pricing 1 month to help people that are trying to achieve the American dream? What have you guys kind of thought about in terms of that with giving back and helping our Central Texas become more mentally strong and to kind of face this thing with the challenges that we have?
Yeah, some of the things that you said, those are some of our ideas. Half off on staying at a couple nights or something like that. So we have a lot of ideas that we're coming together and to get back to the, like you said, the community. And yes, we can go down Killeen and probably do that type of stuff too.
So again, I always like to backtrack and let you all know we're talking about mental health and the pandemic and how it has affected in our podcast. This is our fourth podcast on OC Life. And the slogan OC Life is where we turn our life into a message, or where we turn your life into a message. And the reason why that came about is because our life is a message. We're divinely orchestrated to do something in this world. And I feel that we all have faced a lot of challenges. Be honest, I can give a daggone what anybody thinks. I struggle daily with something.
Yeah.
Every day I'm struggling with something, right? And the pandemic mentally has just messed with my mind. It's made me so cautious in areas that God is saying is okay. It has changed our life as far as what we do, where we go, how we do things. Heck, even as a matter of fact, even people that you're close to, you're asking questions that you really shouldn't really answer. Like, so you should ask them, or are you vaccinated? Or are you, that's personal, it's private. Everybody has their own thing, but it's like you've gotten people that have lost friendships and relationships because someone's vaccination status. Aaron Rodgers, he lost a couple of sponsors.
Yes.
Because he said that he was fully immunized or something like that. What do you say about vaccines, and what's your stand on vaccines, and what's your stand on the mental capacity of knowing that I'm not vaccinated, I am vaccinated, here's what I can and can't do?
My take on vaccination and all that stuff, getting vaccinated or not, is, I think everybody has their own choice and their own opinion, because at the end of the day, you really don't know if it's 100% true or 100% ready or anything. You don't know, because you got people that are vaccinated that are dying. You got people that aren't vaccinated and are dying. So it's like you're on the fence. You just don't know what's true, what's right, and which way to go.
Yeah. I'm gonna say this: to each his own. Kevin Durant said it best. He said, Kyrie Irving is his own man. He's his own man.
Mm-hmm.
And that whatever he chose to do in his life is what he chooses to do. I'm saying that we're struggling in America. We're struggling here in Texas. We're struggling in Texas. We have a lot of families out here that really need some help. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest with you, Tanya and I are not going to be one of the ones, and I know you're not going to be one of the ones that will see something and not be a part of it. The Bible says if you have it today, give it, because tomorrow's not promised. So why would you not want to help somebody? And we're I always say this because we only have an hour on this podcast, because we all have other things that we need to do. But I feel that this conversation, this podcast, deserves a part 2, because mental health and the pandemic have kind of went hand in hand. Yes, but there's been so much of an increase of shootings, Waco, Temple, the world in general. And people are saying, there's a lot of people that my wife, Tanya says, she says, nobody fights anymore. Nobody uses their hands. They use the guns. So I'm stuck in the house. I got no job. Even though there's jobs out there, people are more happy with being on unemployment than they are. Everywhere in Killeen, I know it's hiring. It's all over the place. So why are we not going to work?
Because the statement I said in the beginning, the world's lazy. We're gonna adapt to what's comfortable.
I think that's a great thing to let the camera know. The world, because that's a true statement what you said.
The world is lazy. Everybody's comfortable and they adapt to that. Like, oh my gosh, I can stay at home and play my video game, be on Instagram and all that stuff, social media all day. I'm cool with that.
So do you think that when President Biden, when he came out with the stimulus checks, in your eyes, was that a good thing or a bad thing?
That was a distraction. I'm going to give you this money. But in my opinion, do you think it's really free? I don't think so. Mm-hmm. This is America. America is, you pay for everything here. Ain't nothing free, not even education.
Right.
But some countries, they are.
So, because we have kind of gotten into that, I think that mental health in today's America, before the pandemic, it was all about military, Army, Air Force, Marines, all that. But this generation is very outspoken. If you don't know how to work a computer, if you don't know how to work a smartphone, if you don't know how to converse with people, and if you don't have a voice today's day and age, you're not gonna make it. And Jarvis has made a statement. He said that America's lazy, and I agree with it. Because there's somebody out there that can't work. There's somebody out there that does have mental issues beyond the military, beyond this. And how dare us ignore these things because we're worried about what somebody will say. I'll tell you, if I got $100 in my pocket and somebody is at the register, and if I can help supplement their food, I would do it. If I was in the position of a LeBron James, well, I'm going to take him out of it because LeBron James has given so much to the community. Some of these professional athletes need to do more. I got it. They want to go get there. I got that. But I'm going to tell you, you know why I like Drake? Drake went to the store. I think it was a grocery store in Canada. And he went to the register and told her that for the next, whoever's in line, the customers, to get whatever they wanted, he was going to pay the bill. That is the type of people that we are. Should God so choose to bless us like he's already blessed us, we give what we can give. But I say all that to say this. You know, it struck me when you said America is lazy, because my take on the stimulus check is that the intention was good. There's some people that really needed it.
And there's some people that needed it, and there was killings.
Yeah.
Like baby mamas, baby daddies are fighting over,
Exactly. And this is why I say that. I think that this episode of OC Life with mental health and the pandemic, it's so much that has trickled from this. But we can't use yesterday's worries as an excuse for today. Because you can only change today. Yesterday is gone. I'll give you however long you need to kind of wrap up, what we kind of been talking about and what this podcast has meant to you, because we're going to start getting more and more into, things about life, stuff that we talk about over the phone. And eventually we're going to start painting a picture. And as we start to grow and we're able to start doing more technology stuff, and I would kind of like to do it where we can show the pictures of Ukraine before a video while we're talking, or we can get certain snippets of what's going on in America, because I know you're a loving husband, you're a loving son, godson in our case, but you said a lot of things that really made me think about today, and even about this podcast when I messaged you today about our subject. But I want to give you just a few minutes to kind of let the audience know, because we're going to wrap it up. Just sum up our conversation today and maybe how it has impacted you, in a way where we've got to do more now.
It's just, just tying in today and from last week, we just got to use what the abilities God has given me. Like you said, God is on you. It's your time. It's your time to step up and do what he asked you to do. We're all here to do something on this earth. Everybody has a purpose on this earth. We all do. Everybody. It doesn't matter how bad you did. It doesn't matter how bad you did in your past. It doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter about that. It's about what can you do. Your purpose. We all have a purpose in life. It don't matter if you're an angry man, or if you're just going through so much. We're all, like you said, we're all going through mental health. We're all going through something. So it's only right for us to be able to touch somebody else, or just, get somebody words of courage. Say, hey, man, you should smile more.
Yeah.
Look down, and just speak to the person and just encourage them with some positive words, because as America, I think we all can do a little bit more. We all can do something to help each other out, because it starts with one, and then it triggers to everybody. It triggers to another person, and then another person, and then eventually it's gonna affect everybody, and then eventually everybody's gonna be better.
Yeah, man, that's you know, that's a great message, because you know we're struggling right now, man.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I always like for us when we end this show, I always like to have, you know, the music going, because you know, I feel that everything that you said was just very, very, very true. Very bold to say that we're lazy. You know, we live in a society of laziness, and we are just struggling right now. And, you know, this podcast is not designed to make millions of dollars. This podcast is designed to just have conversations, but speak the truth.
Touch lives.
Yeah, and touch lives. And I just think that if we can't come together now, how much longer is it going to take?
Then win.
And when? So, you know, Jarvis has spoken a lot about, from an athlete's perspective, and from his side as far as family, and I've shared my visions and my views with you on how we've struggled within our household. But I'll tell y'all something, you know, we're in a time right now where we need each other more now than ever. And if we don't change now, we are in for a rude awakening, because gas prices is not stopping. Groceries are going up. Heck, when you go out to eat, it's basically somebody's car note.
Yep.
If you're taking multiple people. So, look, you know, sometimes when you do these podcasts and you go live, you get emotions, and I get emotional because I feel that there's so many people out there that can do more. You know, this world just got the first black female in the Supreme Court. This world is helping, America is helping Ukraine and all these other different places. But I feel like we don't value or appreciate things anymore. And I think that this podcast really and truthfully has opened up a lot of our eyes. You know, Jarvis, you had some great views and some great points, and we appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
We want you to enjoy your Easter weekend before you get into the it's the third quarter of your football season,
Yes, sir.
which is your last ride. And we know that next, the week after that, we know that you're getting ready to go in and you're going to do what you have to do. So I wish you and your family a happy Easter.
Thank you, sir. Same
And,
to you.
you know, for all y'all out there, please like and subscribe. This was OC Life podcast 4. We were talking about mental health and the pandemic and how it affects, you know, today's athletes, today's people in the society. Sometimes you get subjects that touch you much, and it's not a lot of smiles, but I tell you, we truly thank you for being on. Can't wait to see you next Wednesday. If it's the Lord's will, to God be the glory. This is OC Life Podcast 4, where we make your life, where we turn our life and your life into a message. God bless.
God bless.